What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Evening Alpha. I am your host, Todd Wanish, 26-year veteran of the comic and animation field and Web3 and startups and all kinds of stuff, NFTs and storytelling. That is what we're here for tonight. If this is your first time joining us and you're like, what is this? Why are we here? What's the show about? Well, this show is a little different than other shows. What we do here is this is a very specific type of conversation. We hold founder talks. I own my own company. We do our own NFTs. We talk to other founders, other leads of projects where they're launching their own NFTs or in Web3. And when you get a couple of entrepreneurs in a room together, magic happens because once you get out of the standard interview questions, you start to realize that there's a lot more to it that happens behind the scenes, because a lot of people have this misconception that launching a Web3 project, an NFT project, a crypto project is simple, right? You just make a bunch of random monkey pictures and you put it online and you make $1 million, right? Isn't that how it works? Well, no, it actually is like way harder than that. So that is really what we do as founders. When two founders sit down, basically we're talking about how the hell we put out fires. So and all the fun and good stuff too. So that is what we do here. I am actually incredibly excited tonight because so as you guys in the audience know, I have a soft spot in my heart for a few things. One is comics, 2 is decentralization, and 3 is the power of a community to decide on the future direction of that comic or that universe. And so I'm ecstatic. I cannot wait to talk to Nick and possibly Josh, who's on a mountain somewhere, from Cosme Heroes. What's up, guys? How you guys?
Yeah,
welcome.
Exciting, man. Nice to meet you again.
Yeah, you too, man.
I love that's your 3 most exciting things, because that pretty much sums us up perfectly, really.
I'm telling you, man, I love it. I absolutely love it. We got a little bit of feedback. I'm going to guess that it's you, Josh, because you're on a mountaintop somewhere.
Potentially. Is that lowering the feedback?
There you go. Yeah. Do you have? It might be like the headphones or whatever, but yeah, that's good. That's fine.
Might have been a volume thing because I don't you hearing yourself because I don't have any earphones in.
Oh,
but
no
thought
worries.
I'd say hi from on top of this mountain in the Yarra Valley.
Yeah, I love it. It's for everyone that's watching video. It's absolutely gorgeous. You're kind of making me jealous. So
yeah, this is it's getting cold out here, but this is my view. Like we're living off grid here, me and my family. Well, my family and I. So there's my wife, myself, and my 2 boys, and we've got an off grid set up in kind of like on my her parents' property, 50 acres, or I think that's about 30 hectares or something like that. So. Wow. It's nice. It's a good spot to look at NFTs.
That's right. There's something weird about traveling to you're working on the most cutting edge technology known to man right now, but you're out in the middle of nowhere off grid as well. Like that's a very unreal existence, my friend.
It's so extreme. I'm working on some stuff with an electrician now on our off grid space, and it's unbelievable because you're meeting people from all over the world, and some people are in just in really impoverished communities and they're just entering into NFTs. And then there's people like us that are living off grid, or people that have beautiful homes in America and all around the world. And it's like, it's so diverse that where we meet, we all meet in that same space. And we all meet. That's what I love about it, because we all meet on the same level. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's interesting how like life imitates your art, which is Web3 and kind of doing NFT drops, right?
Yeah.
so tell me about Cosme Heroes, guys. Like I'm dying to know more about this.
Maybe you run for a second, Nick.
Oh well, yeah. So like you said in your intro, it's what you've just said. Those 3 things just encapsulates what we're trying to do here perfectly. Like what we say is, let's make a comic together. That's like our tagline. And using the power of community, we can, I guess, create something special, like in a comic, and then that value around building a comic together in Web3 is something different, I guess, than you see in the traditional sense, as you would know. Todd
Yeah,
perfectly been such a veteran.
I guess
in
like
space.
I think it's an interesting space that we're in, because you can take a whole bunch of creatives that mightn't have had a space, like we've said, like I've met here on a mountain. We've got people in our community that we're looking at gifting the free NFT side of things too. And they can't purchase an NFT. It's not even feasible. They're fine to get on Discord and have a wallet and stuff like that, but we want to give them a voice creatively. So what you actually get is this ability to help creatives enter into a project. Therefore, you're getting access to their wonderful minds, and they're getting access to an opportunity where they can earn money for creating. So it's like, it's a no-brainer in my opinion.
I'm curious, like, so we talked to a lot of projects, and I don't think it'd be a surprise to you guys that a lot of the projects out there right now that are in Web3 NFT are dealing with comics. They have that comic element to it, right? And I bring this up because I swear to everyone listening, like, we have had plenty of projects on that are doing comics or something in that vein. But it's not like we're filtering out other projects and saying, no, we just want the comic book NFT project. Like, it's just there is a focus on that medium and bringing that medium into NFTs. So I'm curious from you guys, like, why NFTs or why comics?
We were discussing this just the other day. I think, to put it simply, is comics have such an influence on culture. Like, you look at it in the past, comics are the perfect medium to, I guess, dictate a certain culture. Or Josh, you would describe. You go for it.
It's interesting. There's several ways to look at it. Here's the most basic way of looking at it, in my opinion, is it's so much harder to make an anime.
Fair. Okay. Yeah. Fair. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how simple is that, right? It's just, I'm good with visual, and maybe in some way I got some skills around art direction, but I wouldn't imagine being able to direct an anime, and I'm not even going to direct this. The community is. So it's also a lot more expensive to create an anime, and then we're also looking and sitting there waiting, because we want to utilize and get it stuck into some of the content by companies like Galverse, because they're going to do an anime. You know, things may progress to that point, but it's a nice entry point, I think, because, you know, you might look at what is it, Nick? Maybe 38 pages, and these pages can explode off the page. You know, we can put a lot of effort as a community into that, and it's something that I think is not too big for us to bite off. And then we can grow. Like, imagine promising too much, like the projects that promise a metaverse.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, you know, how do you do that? I'm seeing Wild go and do it with their thing, but it's just like, it's so difficult. So we can make a comic. I'm confident in that. That's why. Yeah,
that's a great point. Carrots in Discord is asking about a delay echo. So Josh, do you want to turn down your volume just a little bit more? I know it's probably going to make it hard for you to hear, but we can hear the echo through the speaker.
The echo. Okay.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, Carrot. So Josh is on top of a mountain in the middle of I don't know, some random plane on planet Earth.
This is not the metaverse.
And J-Raw believes that J-Raw says, "Yo, what's up, Anon? I know you have like 1,000 cattle behind you." So.
Hopefully, you see some kangaroos like jumping past.
Yeah.
You know what there is here though? Here, I'll show you. In this forest behind me here, there's not 1,000 cattle, but there's about 1,000 deer. There's so many deer that live in there.
But there's your meat supply off grid.
Yeah, we've got water from the stream there. There's a beautiful crystal clear water that comes from Mount Donabenang. So it's pretty awesome.
That's amazing, man. We could talk about that for sure. So you actually said something too about focusing on comics and the fact that it's something that you can do, like a confidence. And it made me think of something, and that is, something we often talk about is the over promising of a lot of projects on a roadmap. And you see it, right? Oh, we're gonna have the feature film, and then the anime, and
then the game, the metaverse game,
the metaverse game, yeah. And you're like, wow, you guys must have like $1 billion to spend. So, and I think there is something to be said. One of the things that I look for personally, and this is just do your own research, it's just a personal thing, is almost to your point, Josh, the exact opposite, right? Like, I don't want to hear about the metaverse game. I want to see, like, just drop some t-shirts, right? I don't want to see the feature film pitch. I want to see a comic book or literally anything that is just small, bite-sized, deliver it, put it out, and move on. You know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't have to be huge, right? You can build out slowly, right? You can build your community and have your community help to push it forward one step at a time. And I think there's something to be said for like under promising and over delivering in a space when everybody seems to just use buzzwords to FOMO the over promise. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I guess like expanding on what you're saying is, I guess what I was trying to say before is the best way to onboard, because the biggest thing with NFTs at the moment was so like we're early and there's like such a small percentage of people actually using NFTs at the moment. And a great way to do that or to get new people involved is, in my opinion, comic books, or onboarding new people is either like with, I guess, yeah, either books or comic books, because then they can read that and then they see, oh, this is an NFT, I can get an NFT version of this. So then it download a wallet so they can get a free NFT version of it. And then all of a sudden they're in that space, because I think as soon as someone gets in this space and sees what it's all about, they're hooked for life, really, because that's what's happened to us.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, once I went through the process myself and was able to buy things and trade it and see the value of what it really was, the potential, right? Like, you see what could be, then I was hooked. I'm all in, right?
Yeah.
So how do you guys go from taking complete novices in most cases and moving them through the process of actually creating something like a comic? Like, how does it work for Cosme Heroes?
Joshy?
I just missed part of that.
So I was asking, like, we have, I'm curious as how you would take someone who is brand new to the space, right? Meaning they've maybe never written something, never crafted a comic or maybe anything. Like, how do you take them from complete novice and then push them or incentivize them to then help you create something from scratch? Like, what's the process for Cosme Heroes?
Yeah, so I think what's been working for us is we've been using writing competitions. So we're trying to actually be realistic. So say you have 1,000 people, there might only be, 30, 40 people that are really enjoy the writing process. So we wanted to actually tap into two things: not converting someone into a writer, but finding writers. And then secondly, also utilizing the other portion of that 1,000 people to have kind of like a vote. So we get to run these ideas that the core writing team come up with. We get to run those ideas by a large group of people, so we can have kind of like a collective agreement that it's a good direction. So it's almost like not needing to onboard anyone, just ciphering through and finding, looking through and finding the talent from within the crowd. So some people are standing up and some people are really talented in our community. And even I'm looking at Cider, who's in our community, he or she, we don't know, is such an incredible writer and keeps writing these wonderful little stories that keep us laughing and, bring some real interest to our day when we're actually doing writing competitions. And Cider enters an entry, we're like, oh, this is actually really good content. So the goal for us is to find the people from within that show the talent, and then to give the best possible environment for them to shine. And that's through them getting their own creative. We'll do creative brainstorming sessions with those good writers as a community, but at the end of the day, we'll walk away and we'll let them write some plot lines and some ideas, and as a community, we'll all vote and decide on what direction we want to take.
Awesome. So that gives me two questions. So the first is, what is the incentive for for a contest like that? Is it just like free NFTs or a whitelist, or is it something? Is it credit in the comic? Like, what's the incentive mechanism to get people to write?
So that's our
Nick. You've got all that down, Pat.
Yeah. So we've got that's where it comes into this fractionalized ownership of the comic book. So
yeah. That's what I was thinking.
If you're voting, because you've got to incentivize people to do this stuff. They're not just gonna. There's going to be some that want to do it, but yeah, people want to know that they're getting something for it. So we've created a token where it is like, I guess, it portrays your ownership of the comic book. So if you vote, you might get one COSMEx or Cosme Volume 1 token, and that signifies like a portion of the ownership. But if you enter like an idea and that idea gets selected, then you might get 10 of these tokens because your idea is being used in the comic book. So that so it's all just fractionalizing the ownership of the comic book through participation, be it voting or idea generation.
That's really interesting. We've actually been talking about that ourselves for quite a while, and I think one of the challenges, and we're most likely going in that direction for our community as well in some form. One of the challenges from a mathematics standpoint is that when you say, so if I give you I don't know, coin, we'll just call it coin, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, if I give you one coin for talking in Discord, like very general, you know, we've all seen that kind of stuff. And then you get 3 coin for inviting somebody. And again, I'm just making this up. And then you get 7 or 8 coin for participating in a writing contest, and so on and so forth as they get deeper and deeper into your universe that you're creating.
Yep.
You're at some point, the minute that coin is exchangeable for a good or service, you have assigned a dollar value equivalent to that token, right? If I say, hey, this is what we're talking about even internally with us.
Yep.
It's like, hey, 500x token equals a t-shirt. Well, now we know that the market there's a market value for a t-shirt, right? Let's say it's $25. Well, now there's an intrinsic value to that coin of saying, this is how much each coin is worth. This is how much it is to get a shirt, right?
Yeah.
So the challenge that we see, and I'm curious how you guys are handling this, is like you say, or maybe you're not even worried about it. There is something to be said for just saying, fuck it, just do it. But once you assign that dollar value or that monetary value to that token, then as they stack points or coins towards a percentage ownership of a royalty or reward, whatever it is, as that book is produced, does that add a complication in how that percentage is divided? Does that make sense? Because you're now assigning a dollar value to what the percentage is to actually getting a reward.
I think the difference is what you're saying there. This token, in our sense, isn't going to be exchangeable for like a goods or services. It's purely just like a token almost of like your participation. So if you
almost
own,
like points.
Yeah, points. And so you'll never be able to exchange that, say, for a t-shirt or anything like that. It's just your ownership. It's just signifying of how much of your participation you've done in writing this comic book.
So if I had 51, I'll just call them points for simplicity. But if I had 51 points and Josh had 12 points, then when the book comes out, there's some kind of reciprocity where I would have a bigger reward from that, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. And then you just translate that
100%.
Is it translated into percentage of sale, like from profit or?
Yeah, from profit. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So say we sold a certain amount of the comic. it's just so easy to trace back. So it's literally like a 100% us as founders, Nick and I, we only get what we put into. That's the experiment. That's where things get interesting. So there's no actual company kind of, you know, we literally have to hold the NFT and use them to vote as well, for us to be able to take place in this. So it's unique in that sense because you take away free loaders. You know, so people that just want to ride and not actually vote and not actually add any creativity, at least their mind for voting, if they don't let their mind enter into the equation and start to, you know, share ideas at least in a vote, then, you know, what actually happens? They don't see any COSMEx. So there will be other ways to reward community from within Discord for participation in other things, but in regards to COSMEx, it's only in regards to like profit sharing.
Yeah, I love this, and I find it fascinating because, like, there's so many different things you could do with it. And we've also thought about kind of like equaling the playing field as well, right? And I guess our challenge is when we've asked ourselves the same thing is like, hey, why don't we get paid in that native token too, or that native point system or whatever? Then how do you like? Do you separate your daily tasks because you guys are full-time or you're working on the project? There's nobody that's going to be working on the project more than you guys, period. Like, it just doesn't happen. Right? That's why you're a founder, because you bleed for this stuff. And so you either track your own KPIs somehow and assign points to each KPI, which then results in some kind of tracking system conversion, either per hour conversion to a point system or per task to a point system. Hey, I pushed an announcement to our Discord members this morning. That's 5 points, right? Something around there. It's either per hour. I worked for 30 minutes, I get 5 points, or I pushed something to public. I earn 5 points. Like, it's
interesting that's incorporating everything into it, and that is a way to do it, but I don't think we can sustainably do that. So I think we'll run separate accounts. So we pay mods and we pay ourselves, and that's decided by the community. If Nick and I are putting in more, we make a commitment off the first drop. We have a commitment to the community to see the project through. So that's our commitment. And then we have to decide with a DAO and with the community how much the people that are actually running Cosme get paid in wages. So that's
the same as like the artists
with the community.
Same as the artists. Like, artists have to get paid for creating a comic book, and they get royalties as well. So that's why it's a share in the profits. I guess there's going to be still outgoings as you make a comic book, obviously. So yeah, with the COSMEx, that represents that share of the profit. So yeah, us as founders, if it's deemed that we need a living wage, that will just be part of the outgoings. Right.
So that way you keep it separate, and that way everyone has the same task pool that you can. It's almost, so for you guys, I don't want to say it's necessarily like a bonus, because it's kind of part of what you do as a founder anyway, but at least that way the extra or the additional points that come in are determined by the community as saying, we're willing to give this to these guys for also doing similar tasks.
100%.
Yeah.
So we
awesome.
will be doing the operational tasks, and then there's just that whole separate side that profit shares, which is the creative tasks. So they'll feel different as well, because creatively you'll get paid later. You won't get paid early. It won't be an ongoing payment, except for the artists. You know, and we may potentially, we've been talking quite a while. This is something to take on as well. Is that we are looking to also have a paid advisor as well that can advise in the writing process as well. There's a few people with even like BossLogic's network, and a couple of people that I know in the comic space as well, that we are softly just trying to look through the networks and make sure that we have someone that is really good with the writing process that can oversee and help. But, they will be getting paid throughout the process. But for the creative team, everyone that holds, and ends up receiving COSMEx, they get paid later. So you have to be able to add value to the project without demanding payment until it comes, so it's a community operation. That you're earning more because you get more COSMEx if you're putting forward great ideas that get chosen. But it's about leading towards that minting point, and the point at which we then mint the comic and people buy the comic, and to the point as well that we can, as a community, see how far our network extends to to get the comic on, whether it be Crunchyroll manga, Western manga section, or whatever it is. So they're the dreams, that's the dream, but the goal is to at least make the comic. We're making the comic, and we're committing to several editions. So
yeah, it's incredibly difficult. Like, it's really like, I mean, certainly making a comic is easier than making a feature film. But that does not take away the fact that making a really good comic is fucking hard.
Yeah.
In fact, we had on Thursdays we do something called Lore Games, which is a live 30,000 foot view writers room that we open up to our network, right, to our community. And we've invented it as a game, so it's not just a writer's room. It's actually we've taken some obscure RPGs and kind of modified the writer's room mechanic with some game mechanics so that people can play, and there's rules, and it's playing a game that you actually end up with a story. And Thursday we finally got through what we technically call the shitty first draft, and that is what it's called. It's called a shitty first draft because it's not meant to be Shakespeare, right? It's meant to just go through the entire beats so that you have a full beginning, middle, end with all the stuff you need. And it's so difficult just filling in the blanks. And sometimes you're like, I don't know, monster blows something up, and you're like, okay, and it has nothing to do with anything else. It's just like this weird, but you're like, fine, there's something there. And so yeah, like last night we finally finished like our third round, which is, we're kind of on this one story, we're expanding it out, and everyone's like, we're all applauding because we finally, as a group, right, we got that shitty first draft done, because it's hard. It's really hard to kind of make a story and figure it out, and everyone has different ideas, and some people are afraid or don't feel like they are contributing, and then of course they don't feel like they can contribute, and then they come up with something that's freaking amazing, right? So as a community run project, and I think you guys know this, like you're not only are you herding cats, but there's a little bit of, it's like you're juggling cats while herding them, because you have all of the tasks that you have to do to set up the project. And then on top, like if you were just making a comic, there's very set rules for this, right? But it's not. You're making this comic book, but then you also have to invent all these other systems to kind of figure out, like, okay, how are we gonna, okay, community in these different parts, and then it all has to somehow gel together, right? So thinking about that, like, what's been the biggest challenge to do that?
I think,
there's been some challenges.
I think engagement's gonna
portraying the vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go, Joshy.
You go.
I reckon.
Just portraying the vision, figuring out how to get graphics and things in order for it to really make sense, and how to tell that story.
What about you, Nick?
And I reckon engagement. I think a lot of DAOs, because it's technically is what we're doing is a DAO structure, just more creative.
Yeah.
Is keeping those people engaged, and I think that's why you're doing is so brilliant, is having it in a game structure where it is keeping these community members engaged in creating this story or comic book. So I think that's something that we're actively, I guess, focusing on, is how to keep the community engagement up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge all the way around, right? Like for us, like some people, the challenge is that people are people, right? Like some people are going to be attracted to whatever the thing is that you have, and some people won't. and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not attracted to your project. So the challenge that we have, and it is basically that we're creating multiple systems, so that we have the lore games, and some people are very attracted to the lore games, and a lot of people are not, right? Because it's just the law of averages. You have X number of 1,000 people in your Discord. You're not going to have 1,000 people in chat and something like this. It just doesn't, unless you're much, much bigger, right? So there is a small segment that are very passionate about that certain engaging thing. Similarly, we do game nights, like after the evening alphas, we do game nights. There are certain people that are attracted to that and come, and there are plenty of people that never come. Again, doesn't mean they're not interested in knowing that they can come whenever they feel like it, but they, for whatever reason, it's just not, maybe it's the wrong time of day, or maybe they're not really interested. Who knows? And so as we are building this out, we see it as building multiple layers of engagement, right? It's the lore game is a 30,000 foot view of like these giant, big milestones and like a Marvel Cinematic Universe style thing, right? But then on the flip side, you have to have the small version, the foundational core version of like, okay, here's how we're doing, like you guys are, right? Like here's the comic, here's the system for building the comic, right? So there are multiple systems that I think as a DAO or as a company that's going to want to do more than one comic, like you start with where you are, because you can only focus on one thing. But once you do one comic, you guys are probably going to want to do more. So it's like, okay, well, now how do we expand that out into teams, or how do we figure out how to do a movie script or a graphic novel where it's like 6 comics in one? Like, it's all these systems evolve and change. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Because we've literally just had a community member expanding on that, just come up with an idea as well. And he was saying how incorporating other NFTs that you own, because a lot of NFTs, you've obviously got the IP rights, and incorporating that, if you want to go and do like a separate kind of comic with Cosme Heroes with that NFT, then it's kind of like a satellite, I guess, little writing group that can come up with their own comic, and it's just in that, I guess, Cosme Heroes multiverse, I guess, for using a Marvel term. But yeah, it's part of that whole universe, the Cosme universe.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's trying to figure out what you want to bring forward at what comes at the right time. So we're looking at a comic that's going to be probably Nick, you say 36 or 38 pager. But it's like, to keep the community engaged as we're starting, with the process of that, actually probably within our marketing period, in the coming 2 months, is to look at maybe doing something else, like a 5-pager, or a little, just something small that the people can start the juices flowing and engage with, and so they can start to see. We went and worked with Rolly-chan, who did a beautiful concept cover, and then we went and worked with one of the original anime artists in the NFT space, a guy called Tsushinobi. He did the Wave Fusion stuff, a lot of their stuff early on, and he did an amazing concept cover. And the point of me bringing that up is we wanted to use that throughout the marketing process, and it'll really come out later on when we start to tell the story further, that you actually do choose the direction. So you choose whether you want to work with Tsushinobi or whether you want to work with Rolly-chan. Cool. So we want to be able to show that, and that was something that we took on, to go into the creative process of working on concept covers with them. And it delays some time, of course, because you start to dive creatively into that. And you're engaging with community. As founders, we're still working on covers with people, and it creates something extra. But I think sometimes it's okay to take something extra on if it tells your story, i.e. maybe like doing a little 5-pager or something to have the community start to understand how it's going to work.
Yeah, I see.
And I think that's the beauty of Web3 as well. It's not in the traditional sense, you just buy a comic book and then you read it and you wait for the next comic book. In Web3, as soon as you start following our Twitter, you can then become part of the story. It's like it's an ongoing story. So it's comic books, but there's other medium as well. Like you've got your Twitter, you can do videos there, and that's all telling this story. So it's not just that traditional sense in reading a comic and that's where the story ends. It's everything else that's involved in Discord or on Twitter or a video that you watched on YouTube. It's infinite, I guess, the possibilities to really tell your story.
Yeah, for sure.
What's can I ask on adult fantasy side of things? What's been the funnest thing to do as a community?
Oh man, the funnest thing. That's tough. Like that's a great question. Two reasons why that's a hard question is one, I do enjoy all of it, even though it's like a lot of it is painful and hard. And the other reason it's hard is because like I genuinely barely remember what happened yesterday. But I don't want to cop out. So like the most fun, there's a couple things. I really love the lore games because it really is the opportunity for people to share within the broader like actually taking people's ideas and applying them into a real thing. And the only thing that compares to that on the same level is when we were doing lore challenges in Discord. We haven't done one in a while, only because we're actually moving it into an app because we like it so much. But the lore challenges we did when people were crafting stories and submitting artwork, it's so effing good. It's so good. And it goes to it feels like I personally, it's validating something that I've been preaching about since I was in my 20s. And that is that talent is not limited to the professional class, right? The only difference between the professional class and the amateur class is the skill set of getting the job, right? And I have friends, and this was proven to me early on because I had friends who were prodigies or both prodigies and just incredibly talented people who decided to start a family really young or move to a town that wasn't in the States, New York or LA, right? And their creativity level didn't change. Their talent didn't change, but the skill of being able to grind that path out for themselves did change because the opportunity was no longer as prolific as it would have been had they been in these cities or without children or what have you, right? So it's always been, and I've been fighting this for a long time with people, friends really, saying, look, you know, and I think over time also people internalize they internalize these lack of skills to a lack of talent, right? I didn't make it, therefore I'm not any good, right? It's on multiple, you know, it doesn't have to be that direct, but at some point they're like, well, I used to draw, or I used to write, or well, you know, one day maybe I'll do it, but I don't know, I'm just not very good at, you know, like it's that barrier, that false belief is purely, it's not a talent-based thing, it's not a creativity-based thing, it's a skill thing. And so when Web3 came and doing what you guys are doing, what we're all doing, like seeing people post in Discord, like paragraphs and paragraphs, essays really of characters and stories and art that's like damn near professional, if not professional, right? Clear, like very good stuff, validates that for me personally. And so I'm like, yeah, all we have to do, it actually inspires me to work harder because I see that and realize, I mean, I'm sure the people in, you know, in adult fantasy are like, oh, if you like it so much, why the hell haven't we done it in a while, dipshit? but the reason is because we like it so much, we want to make sure that's actually put to use. You know, we similar to you guys, right? We want to make sure that, hey, if you're going to spend the time to write an essay about a character or a story, there should be some reciprocity from the project, right? Where it taps into some kind of reward from what the project is putting out, right? And so of course I think we did what a lot of projects do at first, and to get the ball rolling, just to test it, we tested it with like NFTs and special giveaways, right? And now that we know it works, we don't want to just keep doing, hey, it's another week, we're just going to give away another NFT again, Ooh, great. Like we want to kind of take it to that next level. So we even though we haven't been doing it lately in our own Discord, it's not because we don't think it's great. We think it's like the number one thing. And so we're just like, we've been working on the app to be like, okay, once it's in an app, we can track it and we can actually kind of apply something like what you guys have with the token, right? Very similar. Does that make sense?
It does 100%. It's so funny you said that. There's multiple things that it's just hearing you say, it's just like, I don't know, it hits home, because from the very beginning for our project, for us, that was the core, I guess, value, is that everyone has this creativity in them. No one's born not creative. It's just a human nature to be creative. Been doing it for 80,000 years. It's just, I'm the living embodiment, going through my whole life saying, well, I'm not a creative person, having like that, I guess, more scientific background and logical. I've throughout my whole life gone, well, I'm not creative. I'm not even going to try. And it wasn't until NFTs and that I'm like, well, trying to challenge that, what I call like a self-limiting belief. It's like, I'm saying I'm not creative, so therefore I'm not going to be creative. And then challenging that, and then realizing, well, actually, I do have some amazing, fun ideas just through watching anime, reading books, reading manga and comics. And you just start creating these ideas that you've seen before. And then we just want to bring that to the community. So if there are people out there that are like that, or I'm not creative or stuff like that, they can come online and be almost this other person, ulterior person, and then just give it a go. Because once you start having a try and writing and doing these things, then you never know the magic that can happen.
It's an interesting one. I've thought long and hard about this, and I've worked professionally creatively. And the thing is, I've been in some interesting rooms songwriting as well, as a songwriter, flying from Australia to New York to write with hip hop producers and writing songs for big artists and things like that. It's just a part of my life. But the thing that I noticed was, you can't kill the process. You can't burn that process and get angry with creating, because there's so much failure with creating. So the really good songs that form, comics, call it anything, they start with a whole bunch of ideas. I highly doubt the comics and the things that we know today. I highly doubt they were first ideas. I reckon they were developed ideas from creative things that were down the back of a bookshelf, or an idea in the back of the mind.
Oh, sure.
And if you start to bring the idea and softly develop it, it takes time. But sometimes when you just get the idea out, like Nick and I have a thing when we're sharing creative ideas, let's just get it out and not judge it. So it's about not judging it. That's the key. So if you can get an idea out and get it flowing, and that's our goal with the community, let's just get it happening. So in brainstorming sessions together, let's just have a laugh and come up with some ideas, because that's the start of the process. Then the difference between Stan Lee and the kids that is just getting started is Stan Lee knows the good ideas.
Right.
So as an idea, that's why we reflect back to the 1,000 odd people that are voting, because we do think if we do miss an idea, at least they're going to pick it up. So it's about just getting the stuff out there and also making sure there's not too much. That could be a mess. But getting ideas out there in a nice format, in something that's viewable. We're trying to decide the way to view the ideas in Discord, and how we might present the ideas in another way. So you might have to go in as a team. We might decipher what are the best ideas out of the 40 ideas that we got and present maybe 10. So it's a lot easier to engage with those ideas and not get lost. But I think the idea, I'm talking a lot about ideas, but not killing the creativity and letting it flow, and also having like the understanding as a community not to bash on anyone's idea. It's so critical for us. We've spoken a lot about it, haven't we, Nick?
Yeah. Creating
that we just
safe
kind of
safe space.
Yeah. just to let it develop. And also we do want to make the comic fairly quickly, but we also don't want to set any guidelines on time, because we will know when we've got something strong, and then we'll push on to the next thing. We won't dawdle, but we'll go, all right, we've got it now, everyone, let's move on. So just to get in that room, I can't wait to get in that room once we do build out the rest of the marketing, get to mint, start making something with the community. I can't wait.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you, Todd, mentioned the Allure games and how special they are to you, because it's similar to our Writers games. And I know our first Writers games that we did, and we got a few like fantastic ideas. And then me and Joshy messaged each other and were like, oh, that literally just brought a tear to my eye. Seeing these people that you don't know their background or anything, create this story that's linked to our heroes or something. It is something just truly magical. So magical that, yeah, it literally brought a tear to both of our eyes. It's just, something very, very special there.
It's awesome. We got some questions, I think, in chat, so I want to jump in. But I will say one of the things that, before we jump into chat, like one of the things that I was thinking about too while you guys were talking was, I think one of the other things that makes what we're doing and what Web3 and all this technology makes possible is that one of the barriers, the creative barriers, that false sense of belief of where someone says, I can't do this, is when you're looking at it as a novelist, where like, I can't write a novel that's huge. I can't draw an entire like when you're looking at these giant tasks as a solo artist or a solo creative, or even part of a small team, it's still difficult. But by decentralizing it and kind of cracking open that process and spreading it out, you don't have to do all of that. Like, all it takes is for one person in your community who's shy, who doesn't know how to write, who really wants to contribute, but has a little bit of fear about that. All it takes is for them to come up once and just say, hey, guys, I just have one idea. What if this the character that we're creating, Thanos, like, what if he snapped his fingers and that just eliminated everybody? Like, and it was like, no, that's so dope. Like, oh, and it's like, what about 50%? Like, great. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And that's how it usually is.
100%.
Like, we've seen that, where it's not about someone coming in and saying, oh, I can't write a story. Here's the whole story. It's just throw that spaghetti against the wall and say, I don't know, what if this happened? And sometimes it's crap and sometimes it's great. And you don't, like, to your point, Josh, there's no judgment. You don't judge. You get the idea out there, because you never know what coming back. You never know what the gold nugget is actually going to be. I say plenty of dumb shit. Everyone else says plenty of dumb shit. I'm like, sometimes I know everyone's like, God, what is Todd saying? This doesn't make any sense. This makes no sense to the story. Like, this character, like, we'll be in act 3 of our writing, and all of a sudden someone will be like, I don't know, what if there was a mistress that came in and there's a brand new character, which makes no sense because there has never been this character before the story. But you don't say that. You just say, okay, well, if we use this, we'd have to introduce her earlier, but great, put her in. Like, okay, because you never know how these pieces can fall out. So before we continue, I definitely want to recognize chat and hop in and just say, Hype's here. What's up, Hype? Welcome. How are you? J. Ross here, Uncle Todd, Cousin Nick. Hope y'all are so well, homies in chat. J. Ross, happy birthday yet again. I've wished you happy birthday like 17 times, but you're like 30 now, so I guess we can wish it to you enough. Bad Kitty, what's up? Welcome. How are you? J. Ross says, this is similar to what I want to do, a tiny bit different from gaining Discord coins and points. Awesome. J. Ross says, I know exactly what you're saying, Todd. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's during our conversation with some of the coins and point stuff. Yeah. What's up, Kid Carrots? Welcome. Carrot says, this is a great discussion. Been wondering about these details myself. Carrot says, question, how has the project tackled the issue of story submissions being voted on for quality rather than popularity? Is there an anonymity mechanism?
So we've been toying up with 2 different fields, like what Joshy was saying is having like a quality kind of control and then taking that to a snapshot vote. taking those ideas, and it'll be like 5 ideas, and they're like anonymous ideas, and you just go into Snapshot and connect your wallet, sees that you've got an NFT, and then you can vote with that. Or the other option is that we're more leaning towards, and it was like what you were saying, is having something that's the best thing about apps is convenience. So at the moment, you have to log into Discord and then log into Snapshot and connect your wallet. Whereas with an app, all you'd have to do is connect to your MetaMask, then you're connected, and then you can, one, submit your idea, anonymous idea, it's on the app. And then the second thing is vote on any idea that you find interesting. And it's all done within the app, anonymous. And then we produce, I guess, a tally sheet on a website, which you can then check and see which idea has the most votes. So they're the two kind of directions that we're currently toying with.
Wait, so say that second one again? That was, so you guys are, say that one more time. Let me make sure.
So in an app, so you have like the Cosme app on your phone, and you can connect it with Wallet Connect or MetaMask. And then in that app, you can submit your idea for that weekly's topic.
Right.
And then you can also then use your use that app to vote on what idea you find most, I guess, what you like the most.
Got it. Yeah, we're looking at something similar. I think the first time we saw that it was something similar to like a Jenkins the Valet model, right? Something kind of have you seen that, like their model? Yeah.
And I think their model is perfect for that, is just how visually stimulating it is and easy to I guess conceptualize.
Totally. Let's see. Dusty says, barely remember yesterday. Yeah, last week. Was that a year ago? Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, they were being like, app, what app? Say more. Like,
secretly dropping alpha there.
Secretly, yeah, you know, whatever.
So we've got an app, and you can put some, credit card details into it and order pizza.
That's right. That's right.
Right. I think apps are really good because you've moved towards this process at which you do the big, all right, let's get everyone on the app moment. And then once everyone's on the app, they can see a message ping up to them. So, because look, people have 100 million Discords. Well, a lot of people have 100, that's the limit, I guess, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so, they've got all these red symbols coming up saying that they've got a message, but it can get lost.
Oh,
where
easily.
If you do get through the process of getting an app on someone's computer or phone, then you've got it on their computer or phone, and then they can see when the votes are coming up.
Right. And well, I think that's you touched on something huge, and one of the reasons why we want to do it. There's a couple of reasons why we really want to do an app, or already building it, but the one of the top things is that Discord is wonderful. I despise a lot of social networks. I've tried them all, and I mean that tried them all from an actual business marketing standpoint, right? I do a lot of Facebook ads, so I know the system. Ad manager. I've done Facebook groups. I've done LinkedIn group. Like I've done a lot of that stuff, and I've really not liked the experience of most of those at all. It just didn't vibe with me. And I was really surprised what Discord does. It's still janky as hell. There's a lot of stuff that I don't like about it, but it's great. The problem with Discord, of course, is that it still has the problem of Web 2.0, where you don't have the ability to have and I'm speaking purely as a business owner right now. You don't have full control of the contact, the communication. What I mean by that is, in Twitter or in Facebook, if I was to go to Twitter right now and say, everybody, the biggest drop ever, it's if I had the best product drop ever, and just the best deal ever, it doesn't matter, because the only people that see it are either who was in the feed right then, who could see it, right? And how many bazillion posts they get. Like, it has a shelf life of about 5 seconds, because the feed goes so fast. And then on top of that, it's whoever the algorithm decides to show it to. So I have no control over who sees that message. Whereas, with an app or with email, which everyone likes to piss on email, but there is a reason why it's been dominant for 30 years now. Like with email, if you send an email to a group, they get the email. right? Now, granted, some of it goes to spam and some of it's not open, but at least you know you actually are able to communicate when you need to communicate. And you know that if they didn't open the email, you at least know they got it. You have a conversion number. You're like, well, I have a 20% open rate. Great. You can improve. That's a metric that you can improve. Like, how many people see my tweet? How many people saw the tweet as opposed to this? Don't give me impressions. Like, come on. Like nobody knows, right? And so being able to do that and being able to say, hey, everybody, there's going to be a launch soon, or hey, everybody, there's this really cool thing. Hey, everybody, there's a vote happening, right? And then people can come back because you can remind them about the vote, you know? And to your point, to both of you guys' points, like when you say, hey, everybody, there's a vote going on, and you push that to Discord, and you at everyone, or you at your kind of your key roles, only some of those people are seeing it because they just got pinged by everybody else, you know, of their 200 Discords, or they've turned it all off. Right?
Yep. I have a bit of an idea about that. Like, if you knew someone at Discord, get this idea to them. I always wish Discord had a feature at which you had 100 Discords, you had 100 different red symbols popping up, but once a month, each Discord was allowed a black symbol to pop up. Or a green symbol. So it's above an announcement. It's a thing you rarely use. In fact, you can only use it once a month. You're only allowed to. Therefore, because people abuse announcements, you know, and like I'm in some Discords and there's 15 a day, you know, and it's like, what do I do? This thing's, I've left this thing for 7 days. It's got near 100, 100 things that I need to look at. So I imagine that they would solve a lot of issues if they had another kind of a thing that was provided that was just like a really important announcement. Maybe like, something that you could only use every now and then.
Yeah. See, to me, if Discord, to me, the killer feature for Discord is an inbox. If all those little tags, all the little notifications that pop up and I click and it disappears before I can freaking click on it, and I don't know who sent it or where it is or where, like if there was just a freaking inbox tab where I could actually see all of my messages, it would be the new email. It would be completely, it would change a lot. But whatever. Let's see. We got J. Ross says, some of the most creative people are not out there in the limelight. It's like underground hip hop back in the days. Some of the dopest talent might be right around the corner from you, not on MTV. 100%. I can speak that personally, and specifically to hip hop, like 100%. That's very true. A lot of my old school friends were like old school graffiti writers and hip hop artists and stuff like that. And some of the craziest talented people are out there. No one knows. The real people, like the underground real people know, but 100% true, J-Raw. Absolutely. J-Raw says, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Which is important to enjoy the process. Yeah. So it's like, we want to have an amazing comic, and you do too. And it's like, or whatever the content you're doing in Web3 is, but let's not forget that we've got community at the same time. So it's like, if you're enjoying that process, whether you have something huge or not, it's actually irrelevant, because you've got a memory. Because at the end of the day, it's amazing if we can get paid as artists. But at the end of the day, when we get to later into life, we're going to be able to laugh about Web3 when it first started.
Right.
Us and all these other geeks, and we're all making comics online. And it's like, at least, and my wife's already laughing at me already. She's like, oh, you are so crazy. So it's like, but I'm living, we're living. So that's the thing. Like, if we can get through this and just all just still be friends, that's exciting. So, and we're making friends the whole way.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's I think it's life-changing for everybody, Jara says, Todd, I wrote but then deleted what I wrote in the lore games at least 10 different times because I thought my idea sounded dumb after reading it. LOL. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, J-Raw. Like, look, if you put something down and it's totally out of the blue, like if we're writing a medieval story and you type something like, and then the asteroid came and destroyed everybody, like we may be like, well, that sounds cool, but like, what do you think about this character? Like, we might try to direct it a little bit, but there's no dumb ideas. Like, you as long as it has something to do with the thing, you never know what be like, oh, actually J-Raw, if you've been on lore games enough, like, like if someone says something in chat and it sounds kind of cool, we put it right in right into the deck. We put it right into the story, and because you never know, it all gets kind of intertwined in that system, right? Dusty says, every time I say something in lore games, I'm like, oh, that was dumb. But that's just the process, never judgment. We just play with ideas and continue to refine. Exactly. You know, and Dusty's a great example. Like, you know, he was quiet for a while, and because it is for people who aren't used to doing this kind of thing and just starting to spit out random jargon that sounds like a story, even though you're just making it up off the top of your head, you know. I think it can be a little intimidating, surprisingly, honestly. But you know, like Dusty was kind of quiet, and then all of a sudden he pitched in a couple of ideas, and they were freaking great, you know. And so we were like, everyone was like, okay, that sounds wonderful. Pop, put them in, you know. And it's on par with everybody else. Nobody knows in the next rounds of development whether my ideas will stay or Dusty's or we have, you know, 4 or 5 other people. Like, who knows? And that's the point. The story, it gets the best of all the things. It's just at the end of the day, it's the best of all the things, you know?
I was recently watching an interview with Neil Gaiman, who wrote Sandman, obviously, and his best advice was just ask what if questions. And like, what happens if, say, now me and Joshy was just spitballing with like crystals, and he was saying like, what happens if like these crystals were destroyed, or what happens if they get too far away from these crystals, they lose their power. It's just that what if question just opens up so many different possibilities of what can actually happen, and that's where you're going to find those gem of those ideas.
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because it gives you sort of a framework to ask a question.
Yeah.
Right. Or it almost gives you like a framework or a freedom to create something, because you can follow up the word what if with literally anything. Yeah. And you have the basis of a story, or at least a nugget of something that could fit somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. So when you guys are doing the communal thing, and Josh, you mentioned actually at the beginning of the conversation that, you know, you kind of have on a side, you guys have writer, like you've got like a professional writer, or you'll have the professional artist, the higher, I don't want to say higher level, but more established in their fields, right? To help kind of guide the thing. Does the audience, can the audience at any point override their submission? For instance, like if you have a writer that wrote a story, or say, okay, here's the plot, or whatever the phase that you're going through, is there a way for the community to say, nah, or is it sort of like, okay, here's the setup, now we're going to, as a community, develop from that point on?
Well, that's 100. Well, I think the vote decides, you know. So I think a lot of stuff won't make it to a vote. So the community is already going to be deciding in our brainstorming sessions, or in our just discussions, things that won't even be voted on. So by the time it actually gets to that voting, you know, an advisor's there to help. But the thing is, you know, if we need to help encourage actual, you know, let's just say professional writers enter into the community, we can do that as well. But they have to meet us on our level. With a community, it's just the way it has to be. You have to meet on our level, understanding Web3, understanding how to engage in our community and be part of it. So their idea might shine. It might be funny that we may have someone that's a professional, or whatever you call it, writer, that comes in and actually has an idea, and there's something like Saidu, who's studying in India and had to run home to put in a mini story from uni.
Oh, wow.
You know, like, it's just, and then we were reading the story and we're like, this is amazing. Like, this is incredible. So we really don't know. And that's the thing, we won't know. But the one thing that is for certain is that the vote will decide. So there will be, we're toying, well, not toying, but I'm pretty sure we'll do this thing called like a Heroes Council, which is like a kind of a team of heroes that we all select as a DAO that can just take away a lot of the load and actually look through the creative content, so that there's not this just massive content. Because if things really blow up for us, we will have a lot of content to look through. So the goal is to kind of have a team, including Nick and myself on that team, and we can look at the content and then put a little package together as to what to actually bring forward and what kind of makes it through. And then, if there's any rebuttal there to that decision and someone was so upset that their thing didn't make it through, of course we'll let it come through. We're not tyrants, but the thing is, the vote, once it actually makes it to a snapshot vote, or whether it be in the app, we're figuring out what to do, then that's the decision. It's just the way it is.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, overall, when you guys are building this DAO or DAO-like system, are the roles purely creative, or are you guys expanding out into other areas of the company to have support from the community? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like I've seen, so one of the things is I've seen some DAOs or some creative networks where it's like, okay, our goal and I'm kind of making this up, our goal is to make the comic book. So we're going to have tasks. Okay, so here's the crew that's going to work on editing. Here's the crew that's going to help for voting. Here's the crew that's a little higher on the skill set level. So they'll be the ones to maybe create the initial seed of the idea. But then I've also seen other projects that may not be purely focused on one product per se, go a little further to say, hey, you guys, if you may not feel comfortable writing, you may not feel comfortable voting for whatever reason, but maybe you have a passion for marketing. So here's the marketing tag, or here are the marketing role, or here's the I don't know, other X number role. Like, are you thinking down the road, like you could expand outward, or how are you thinking about setting up your roles? I guess is what I'm asking for, for the styles.
So we're thinking that writers, and so a lot of that artists will be selected by the community. So we will have suggestions of like different artists that you want to draw the comic book, and you will have those roles, but we don't want to kind of pigeonhole people too early, because if people start saying, "Oh, I'm only just a writer," or "I'm not a writer," I'm not going to apply for a writer's role, because that's not who I am. So you want to kind of steer away from having these defined roles. But it will just naturally go that way. Like, you will have the team that are more writing roles, or the artist, or in that sense. But then marketing wise, once we create the comic book, and you get COSMEx, that's almost a DAO in itself, because once we have this comic book,
right,
who's going to want to market it, or how do you want to market it? It's going to be the holders of that comic book. It's their comic book now. So
for sure.
It's like a DAO within a DAO. It then becomes, well, how are we going to market this comic book? Do we want to put it there, or do we want to do there, or how much do we want to sell it for? So it's that intricacy that is just super fascinating to see how that's going to play out.
That makes total sense. Yeah. So like, what's next for you guys? What's coming up next?
Joshy, we've just been discussing this lately. Hey, you're on mute.
Josh, you're muted, buddy.
Sorry, mate. I'll just put the mic back on. What's next for us?
Yep.
Well, yeah, it's interesting you asked that. We're actually in the process of putting together some content that tells our story. So, but very, just changing within Twitter the narration, the way at which we're bringing the story out. So we were really pushing this concept of, trying to engage with people that wanted to come and meet us as people that wanted to be able to be part of creating a comic. We're actually going to showcase a little bit of our comic ideas, Nick and my ideas, because we're noticing in the space that people are responding to at least fairly finished ideas, So we're going to put together some really interesting content that is actually entirely story-based stuff. And it's very lore-based. And then we're toying with, I think we will do a total wipe of our Twitter and start fresh. So, actually start fresh with a clear direction that, it's going to take you into the world. So it's going to be entirely creative based posts.
So from the very first post, it's going to be you're in this, you're in this universe.
Yeah,
we
were thinking about the same thing. I love
just in this market. It's funny how it's almost like you're just very in sync with each other.
Yeah,
but in this market, it's people are going to respond best to that. It's like those ones that shine. Away from being just these collaborations, doing giveaways and all that. It's these ones that have a clear story-driven focus, and you're involved from the very moment that you look at our Twitter. You're like, oh, I want to know what happens next, or where's this gonna go? So that's our plan that we're putting into focus now.
I love it. That's awesome, man. Guys, this has been fantastic. Where can people, if they want to jump into Cosme Heroes, like where do they jump in? Where should they go? How do they reach out?
It'd definitely be, like we were just saying, Twitter. It's probably going to be the most exciting. And then jump in our Discord to see the more ins and outs of how things are going to happen. You can read some Medium articles that I've written about like how this is all going to work and stuff like that. But main focus I'd say is jump in Twitter for more story driven, see how we push it forward, and then Discord for more of the back end kind of.
So jump into Twitter, and from Twitter you'll see a Discord link as well. Jump into Discord, reach out to us in the main chat, which is called Speech Bubble, and just reach out to us in there and say, hey guys, what's up? And we'll be in there to respond and kind of direct you to to Nick's Medium article. That is a phenomenal article explaining the way the COSMEx token will work, the way we'll do things, and then jump into the Sneak Peeks channel and check out all BossLogic's PFP work that he's done. He's a phenomenal artist, and we're so fortunate to work with him. So so it's exciting. So jump in and kind of meet us in there.
Awesome. And what's the Twitter handle?
At Cosme Heroes.
Cosme Heroes. So it's at Cosme Heroes is COSMEHEROES, right? So everybody go check it out. That's also the website, cosmeheroes.com, COSMEHEROES, cosmeheroes.com. Go check it out. Go check out the Twitter, jump into their Discord. You guys are awesome. I mean, it's a fantastic team. I can't wait to see the comic. I'm actually really interested to see like more of the art. I mean, I know BossLogic, so I know the art's dope. I can't wait. I can't wait to see more of this. So
awesome. Thanks for having us, Todd.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And everybody out there, thank you guys as well. Thank you for showing up. As with every night, after our evening alpha talks, you can jump into our Discord. We do after party games. Usually after party games is like basically I get my head blown off in some random first person shooter because everyone just takes me out. But I guess it's fun for everybody else. So I guess, it's great. One day I'll get good enough where I can actually shoot somebody back. But anyway, thank you everybody for showing up. I really appreciate everyone. And with that, we will see you.